I remember my heart pounding out of my chest, and that was the first time in a long time fishing that I could feel my heart like beating out of my chest. I remember the first morning, and we're all sitting down there at the lock on Kissimmee, on Lake Toho, waiting to lock into Kissimmee, and we're just like, you know, what's fixing to happen? You really don't know what to expect going into that first day, and there was a lot of nerves, and you're like, you know, I want to have a good showing at this first event. In any competition, you know, what we do for a living, that's the moments you basically live for.
Score Tracker update. Jordan Lee is on Score Tracker with 2 fish. He has a total weight of 2 pounds, 15 ounces.
Wouldn't expect it to be anybody else.
Jordan, you were the very first winner in the history of the MLF Bass Pro Tour. You took home the big, heavy silver and red trophy. How's that trophy doing, by the way? We saw it in your home in Coleman, Alabama when we were there for stage 5, but is it comfortable at home there? It looked good when we were there last.
Trust me, it was brought in my home with, I mean, when I brought it in that day, I can vividly remember it. I said, I know where I'm putting this, right here on the mantle. And I mean, it was amazing to win that first event.
So I would guess that your anxiety, your nerves had to have been a little bit as you headed into that.
For sure. I mean, I remember that first day, and you know, I don't think I had a fish in the first period.
Is that right?
And I remember, you know, catching my first fish, and you know, started to get a few bites, but the conditions, you know, at Toho this time around, it was cold. I mean, guys were in their toboggans, and we're in South Florida.
That's right.
And into January, and those fish do not like the cold,
Not
just
at all.
like we don't like the cold.
That's right.
And those Florida fish just act different than normal bass, you know, throughout the country. So I knew it was going to be a tough event to start off the year, you know, as far as going out there and getting a lot of bites, and that really kind of changes the game, you know, when it's a tough event, especially to start the year off. I mean, you want to fish fast and you want to get a lot of bites, and it was not like that. It was a slow grind, but the guys were still obviously catching them pretty good. But there was definitely a lot of nerves that first day, and you know, trying to get a feel for it throughout the day.
The morning arrives and you head out for the first period championship. It's a foggy day. That lake is super shallow, so there are some navigational issues you have to pay attention to. So talk about how the morning developed for you. What did you look for specifically?
Yep.
And what did you throw there and why?
Yep, so the first thing I did I remember the ride around was real foggy that morning. But I was looking for isolated pads and lily pads. When you're in Florida around that time, January, February, March, all the locals know anything isolated, anything that's by itself, because there's so much grass on these lakes. There's grass everywhere, and you can get really overwhelmed and seeing all that. So if you see one lily pad, or maybe 2 or 3 lily pads by themselves, those fish will actually pull up and spawn on that, and you can target it real easy. You can pull up and throw, and you know, you can catch big fish like that. But that's really a predominant pattern in Florida. So I was looking for that. I was looking for submerged grass, places where the water was going to be cleaner. Anytime you're in Florida, you know, clean water is pretty much a must. So that grass will actually filter the water out, and most of the time when you're around, you know, all that together, that's where the fish are going to be. So that's something I look for every time I go to Florida, is clean water and isolated, you know, cover.
So you punched your way through the first period, the second period. What was it that caused you to go from, you know, second place, third place to first place, and then opening up a distance of what would eventually be almost 12 pounds?
Yep, so I remember the end of the second period, I was, you know, flipping some heavy grass, just trying to catch, you know, some bigger fish. And I remember, you know, looking in the water, and the water clarity, it went from about, you know, a foot to probably 2 to 2.5 feet visibility. So it went from, I mean, it started getting really clear. And anytime you're in Florida, when you see that, it's like, okay, this is something different right here. And I immediately caught, you know, several fish in that really clear water, and they were good fish. They were like the best fish of the day for me. the first few bites I got. So I kind of knew, okay, there's something going down right in this area. I just need to fish around slow and kind of see what's going on. But that's really what I found. There was scattered hydrilla grass, and the water was just super clean. Considerably throughout the whole lake was dirty. This area was just perfect. And you know, I picked up. I remember catching a few on the worm, and then I picked up you know, the chatterbait and started to really get a lot of bites.
Yep.
I was losing a few, but I was getting so many bites it really didn't matter that I, you know, had lost you know, a couple of them. And it was just kind of a dream scenario. You know, I mean, final day, you're wanting to somehow pull off a win, and you roll in an area and you're getting bites after bites, and they're quality fish. I mean, it was like one of those dream days that you really picture in your mind. And so it was a lot of fun going through that.
It's very rare that you get to start a season with a win. Like in the history of anything, it's very rare.
It's very rare. And I always feel like if I can get my year started off to a good note, you know, and I feel like it always goes better throughout the year because you're not starting on the bottom trying to climb up.
Yeah, right.
And that really boosts your confidence. You're like, you're thinking, you know, this is, you know, I started off the year great, and you know, you get that momentum going. It's so big in our sport. You always hear it, momentum, and it really makes a difference in how you fish throughout the year. And it's a great way to start off the year. Really couldn't be any better, you know, way to start off.